Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about placement groups. Placement groups, yeah, and we will also talk about EFS. Okay, so I'm going to start with some basic theory on EC2 placement groups, because this is actually very the lab session is going to be very short because this is actually very simple. Okay, so but let's talk about placement groups. Okay, so what is placement group? Okay, placement groups control how your EC2 instances are physically placed on AWS hardware. So the goal of placement groups is actually to improve performance, latency, and fault tolerance. So what's the idea of placement groups? So the idea is basically like you're controlling where you want your instances to be. That's the idea. Okay, like let's say you want it to be on one rack. Let's say you have multiple instances. Okay, you want it to be on one rack in AWS data centers. Okay, only in one rack, all your instances in one rack. Okay, one cabinet. Or you want it to be on separate racks or separate locations. Okay, that's the idea of placement groups. We will decide where we want our instance to be stored, to be placed physically. Okay, on the data center, whether we want it on the same rack or on separate racks or separate. So let's see about types of placement groups. Okay, so the first type is cluster placement groups. Okay, this instances are placed close to each other together. Okay, in the same rack. Okay, so basically we will put all our instances on the same rack. That's it. That's what cluster means. Okay, the benefit, it has high performance and low latency. Okay, this is used with big data processing, machine learning training. Yeah, so the benefit is like speed and low latency, but there is an issue with this setup with cluster placement group. Since we are going to put all our instances on the same rack, okay, if something happened to this rack, basically we will have a single point of failure, right? All our instances will be affected. That's the issue with the cluster placement group. Okay, and there is one more type, we call it spread placement group. Okay, the instances are placed on different hardware. Okay, this is not in one rack, it's going to be on multiple rack or different racks. Okay, this is the difference between spread and cluster. Okay, so you're going to store your instances on different racks. Okay, they're used for critical applications that need isolation, but there is one thing you need to know about spread placement groups. It can only support up to 7 instances per availability zone. AZ stands for availability zone. Okay, you can have only up to 7 instances per availability zone. Okay, the pros are it has high fault tolerance, no shared hardware risk, limited scale. That's the pros, and the cons is limited scaling. So there is one more type. Okay, this is new. We call it partition placement group. Okay, this one instance splits into multiple partitions or racks. Okay, if one partition fails, others still run. Okay, so fault isolation per partition, it's scalable, and so that's the 3 types of placement groups. So the best practice is for placement group general, choose based on your goal. If your goal is performance only, if you care only about performance, you don't care about fault tolerance, you don't care about like in case something happened to the rack or what you do. If you don't care, if that's not important to you, use cluster. Okay, but if you care about isolation, you use spread. If you want to divide all your instances separate hardware. Scalability, if you care about scalability and fault tolerance, then partition. Okay, For cluster groups, use same instance types. Okay, make sure in in cluster groups they have to be the same instance type. Okay, you know, instance type means, like, if you remember, when we launch an instance, we have to select the instance type, right? T3 or T2, something like that, right? It has to be same. Okay, and use enhanced networking. Launch instance together at the same time. Use placement group at launch, not after. Avoid stopping everybody. So basically, when yeah, okay, I'll show you on the lab session. For spread group, okay, use for critical nodes like DB controllers. Keep under 7 per beam. Partitions. Partition group, we use Kafka, Cassandra. Use with the Hadoop or something. So before we move on to EFS, I think we should try this one, placement groups. Okay, let's go ahead and try this one. Okay, I'm going to open Chrome here. I'm going to open Chrome here, and I'm going to close this AWS console. I'm going to go ahead, yeah, I'm going to launch an instance. So basically, placement groups, no, we first, before we do anything, actually we're supposed to go here, network and security, and we click placement groups. These are the placement groups that we created, but I'm going to delete it for now, just so we can see how to do it. I'm going to do it from scratch. Let's delete this one, and I'm going to delete this as well. So delete. Yeah, so let me create placement group here. I create placement group, then I'm going to choose the placement name, group name. Okay, I'm going to call it spread or cluster. Okay, cluster G or whatever. Okay, I'm going to choose a strategy here. I'm going to name it cluster. Okay, look what I did here. I make it cluster. Okay, so, and just one note you have to keep in mind, that you cannot, this name has to be unique across your account. Okay, like for example, you want to create another placement group with the same name, it will not work. You'll get an error. Okay, yeah, and let's create the group. Okay, now let's create one more placement group. Let's name it spread G, for example. Let's use the placement strategy for spread. We have different spread levels. Okay, mostly you will leave it as default rack. Okay, determine how placement group. Yeah, so leave it as default racks and create group. So this is for spread, and let's create one more for partition, right? Partition G. Okay, let's choose a strategy. We'll choose partition. How many partition you need? Okay, choose a number to create a placement group. Make it 2. It's fine. Okay, create. So now that we created the placement group, okay, we go to instance, for example. I don't need this one. I'm going to delete it completely. I'm going to terminate all because I don't really need it. And also I'm going to remove the auto scaling, because actually this we opened it before and it's affecting the, so I want it to be gone because we don't really need it right now. Finished our work with it, so let me just terminate everything here, and I'm going to refresh. Yeah, so they're terminating. So now I'm going to launch a new instance. I'm going to create a new instance. I'm going to call it AWS Linux 1. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with Amazon Linux here, and then I'm going to leave the instance type here, and remember this instance type, it has to be same across all the yeah. So key pair key, actually I'm going to choose an existing key here, Linux Linux EFS. Yeah, Yeah, it will simplify for me. I don't want to create another. And here for firewall, we just need SSH actually for security group, right? Mostly we will need only SSH to access this one. Edit availability zone. I want to make it this one, and then we go ahead here down. We go to advanced details. Okay, here you go down, and you'll find placement groups. This is the placement group. So you can choose from the placement group that we created earlier. Okay, so I'm going to choose something here. I'm going to choose spread for now. Okay, and since I already chose spread, now all I have to do is just go ahead and launch the instance. That's it. So now we created an instance here. Okay, we can go to placement groups now. Open in a new tab. Okay, we can see spread here, and what we can do is, like, let's say I want to delete actually. No, but wait, let me see if it can be deleted. Delete this one. Delete. You can't delete it. The placement group spread G is in use and may not be deleted. You see, you cannot delete this one because we are using it. It's reflecting here. So basically, this is the idea of placement group. Okay, so whenever we add another instance, for example, we have to put it on the same placement group. Basically, that's the idea of spread. If it's spread. If it's cluster. And you just have to make sure the instance type is the same, and that's about it. That's the idea of placement groups. So let's move on to EFS, okay, which is Elastic File System. Okay, Elastic File System is basically fully managed, scalable NFS file system. Multiple EC2 instances can access it at the same time. Okay, so what is EFS? Okay, EFS, let me show you the diagram. Excalibur here. Let me go ahead and remove this one. Okay, so let's say we have one instance here and we have one instance here. Okay, and no, reduce the size here, copy this one, paste it here. Okay, and I'm going to name this instance Linux server, and reduce the size to small, not small, medium. And yeah, this one I'm going to put it here, copy here, paste it, going to put it here. I'm going to put this one 1. I'm going to put this one to 2. Okay, and this is the EBS, our storage, right? EBS storage volume. Basically, this is our volume, or our hard disk, basically, that we can just copy here and paste it here. And basically, let me show you how it is actually connected. Yeah, so let's see how it is connected. Okay, so what yeah, so these are two instances. Okay, Linux server 1, server 2, right now. Whenever we have any data here, we're storing it on its own on the EBS volume, right? On the volume that's created. When you launch an instance here, it's going to automatically create a volume on the EBS, right? That's what we talked about here. If you go to Elastic Block Storage, you're going to see, for example, here, this one, for each instance, it has its own yeah, it has its own hard disk, okay, automatically created when you launch it, right? But that's how it is right now, okay? But okay, assume that you want to have one storage for both. Okay, you don't want to have separate EBS volumes. What we can do is we can cancel this one, okay, and we can cancel this one also, okay. Instead, we will have one storage, and we will call this one EFS, or last EFS. Okay, the idea of this, and then we'll connect this one here like this, and here like this. Okay, so the idea of this one, okay, and we're going to use a protocol called NFS here, NFS protocol to, yeah, for this too. Okay, so what is that's what it does. The benefit of EFS are basically it's going to be elastic. That means it's going to decrease and increase based on your need. Okay, and yeah, this is one thing. And also this storage is used for both the instances. Okay, that's the idea of EFS. For more details, let's go ahead. Shared file system. Okay, it's elastic file system. Okay, auto scaling storage, multi availability zone. Okay, Linux based NFS protocol. No need to manage storage. Use case for web servers, shared uploads, media, microservice. Yeah. So basically, the configuration actually is pretty it's straightforward. It's just that we have to configure, and we're going to do it. Just so, yeah. The best practices: use general purpose for most application, and use elastic throughput, modern practice, and always use multi-AZ mount targets. Place EC2 in the same availability zone as the mount target for lower latency. And security: restrict port 2049 NFS tightly. Use encryption and transit. Yeah. And yeah. So we're going to do this actually. We're going to try it now in the lab. Let's go ahead and do it. Yeah. So let me go to EFS. I'm just going to type EFS here. I'm going to type EFS here, and remove all these things we don't need now. Right now I already created one EFS, so I'm going to delete this one, the one that I created. I'm going to delete it. We don't need it. Yeah, to delete, actually you need to go ahead and copy this one and paste it. Remove the space and enter. Confirm. So let's go ahead and create file system from here and apply, let's call it EFS demo or something, whatever, right? So let me create a file system. Let me customize, okay, just so we can see. So the file system type, choose to either store data across multiple availability zone or within a single availability zone. This is the best practice, right? It has to be across regional, so leave it as it is. And here, automatic backup your file system data with AWS Backup. Here, make sure this is always enabled actually. It will enable automatic backup. And we have to know that S3, we've talked about EBS. When we have EBS, we can just use snapshots, right, to do the backup. But for this file systems, it's better to just use the AWS Backup. It's automatic backup. Okay. So life cycle, you can keep everything as default. You can enable encryption here if you need. If no, you can remove it. And here we have enhanced throughput mode. And we have here elastic. Elastic means use this mode for workload with unpredictable input output. Elastic throughput, performance, automatic scaling, your workload. You only pay for the throughput you use. Data transferred in your file system per month is the benefit. So general purpose here. Performance mode, leave it as general purpose. So let's go ahead and click next. Now here this part is very important. Okay. What you need to do is actually choose the security group. Okay, we don't need all this stuff, and you have to enable two protocols, SSH and NFS on the security group. So what I will do is actually go ahead and open this one on a new tab, for example. Okay, I'm going to go to EC2 and create a new. I'm going to go to EC2 and create a new security group. Okay, I'm just going to create a new security. I'm going to name it NFS plus SSH. Okay, I'm going to copy this one, paste the description here, and here I'm going to add two inbound rules. One for NFS and anywhere here, and another for SSH, again anywhere here. So I'm going to create security group here. So once I finish creating the security group, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to choose the one that I created here, which we will not find it actually, so we have to refresh this page. It's okay, we can it took us back, so we didn't really do anything here, so we can click next. And yeah, so let's go ahead and add the security group, which is NFS plus SSH, this one. I'm going to add this one. Okay, I'm going to add here same security group, NFS plus plus SSH. Add it here as well, and add here also NFS plus SSH. Add it here, and go ahead and add it here also, NFS plus SSH. Add it here, and yeah, go ahead, add here as well. Here it's added, so let's go ahead and do this here, NFS plus SSH. So click next, and you can do this, but leave it for now like this. So now create. So now we have this one. Okay, we have the file system created already. So now what we need to do is actually go to the instance here. Okay, we already created one instance, right? This one. So what I want to do is create another instance so we can test. I'm going to call it AWS Linux 2. I'm going to leave everything as it is. The key pair, I'm just going to say Linux EFS, and I'm going to leave this one as it is. Yeah, but here we only enabled the SSH. I think we are supposed to actually enable the this one. We're supposed to choose this one, NFS plus SSH, the one that we created. So, and you can put it on the same placement group also. Just yeah, just we do that one. You don't have to, just to see. Put this one, and let's go ahead and launch the instance. Okay, now did we finish this one? So, but let me go to one, make sure that I added the inbound rule here. I only enabled the SSH here, so I have to have actually the both the SSH, and I must add it in the instance. Yeah, in the inbound rule we have here security groups, and here let me edit inbound rule. Let me add it there itself, it's okay. So let me just change here, put NFS and custom, put anywhere here, save the rule. So I think both of them support both actually, NFS and so now our instances are running. Now let's go ahead and try to access our first Linux, our Linux system here. So I'm going to go to EC2 dash user at the rate. I'm going to select one piece here, copy the public IP and paste it here, and go to SSH authentication credential, browse the Linux EFS, open it here, accept, and I'm going to open PuTTY again for another session, next session, EC2, and I'm going to call it add, and I'm going to create the public IP here for the next one. I'm going to add the authentication credentials from here, the private key, and I'm going to open here, and I'm going to accept. So now we have two. Okay, this is the first one, this is the second one. So what we need to do is we have to make sure I'll create one file here. It has to be show also on this one. So I have to connect them first. Before we do anything, we have to actually make dir. Is it make dir? Yeah, make dir dash p. Okay, you're supposed to do this one. You can name it anything. It doesn't have to be same, but EFS1. Okay, mount one folder here, and I will do the same here as well. Sudo make dir dash p, and I'm going to name it this mnt EFS1, and we have done this part. The next step is actually going to be we have to go to EFS, the EFS that we created. We just search here EFS, okay, file system that we created, and click this one, click the name. We have an option here, attach, and then since we are using the NFS client, we just copy this text, and I'm going to paste it here. One second, copy it and paste it. No, it's not working. It's okay, let me just copy it this way. Copy here again. Let's try here. No, it's not working actually. Network error caused by, okay, there seems to be an issue here. Okay, let me just copy this one. Okay, paste it. Yes, so now it's working. So what I will do here is just I'm going to remove this EFS. I'm going to put my folder, my mount that I created, mnt EFS1, right? So now click enter. Done. So I will do the same thing here. Just going to paste it here. But here there is an issue. It's stuck. But this one is done. Okay, let me just do it here. Here it's stuck. It's saying inactive. So let me do one thing. I'm going to close this one since we finished with the first server. We have the second server here. 17128. Let me just go to the instance again, which is I think it's this one and this one. Yeah, let me just copy this one. Okay, open PuTTY again. I'm going to go to EC2 user at B. I'm going to add the authentication credentials here. Going to open here. Okay, now I'm just going to paste copy the EFS here, and I'm going to change this one to mount EFS. I'm going to call it 1, right? Done. So now actually what I will do is I'm going to create one folder here. I'm going to call it echo, for example. Here I'm going to say this is web server 1. Okay, and I'm going to just put here sudo t. I'm going to put mnt, and I'm going to call it what is it exactly, mnt efs 1. Okay, I'm going to call it hello.txt. This is server 1. So now if you go to cd mnt and EFS 1 and click go to ls, you're going to see that we created a text file right here, and the text file contains, this is a web server. So this is my second server, right? Let me just go to my first server and try to actually this is the public IP, and going to connect to the first server at Control V here, and I'm going to credentials here. Okay, I'm going to check here. I'm going to go to CD, okay, MNT. It's my second server, by the way. You can see it here. You can see that the private IP is different. You see this one, last 171. Here is 143. It's completely different IP. This is the first server. The second server is the first server that we created. Now let me just go to the MNT EFS1. Okay, let me click ls. See, we have here hello.txt. To verify that it's the same server, it's the same text, cat hello.txt. See, this is the web server. So as you can see, we were able to connect Elastic file system. We connected both those servers to be able to communicate with one EFS system. So that's the idea of EFS, and that's all we have for today, I think. 1 second, let's go to AWS Backup. So this is AWS Backup. Okay, so AWS Backup centrally manages and automates backup across AWS services. Okay, this is used actually to define daily backup plans, schedule backup, automate stuff, centrally monitor everything. So I'm going to create a backup plan here just so we can see what exactly is the benefit of this. We can have a template, for example, so we can use it whenever we need it, or we can build a new plan. Okay, let me just build a new plan here so we can see how it is. This is just the name, the backup plan. Okay, backup rule name, and we have backup vaults. Okay, this is, I think this is a location. Rule name is just a name. Yeah, we have frequency here. We can specify this frequency, like if it was, you want daily backup, weekly or monthly. And we have start time here. I specify the time of day the backup will start, like frequency also. Period of time in which the backup plan starts. If it doesn't start at specified time, yeah, complete within. Okay, so we have moved backups from warm to cold. So backup rule scan. So this is basically just the settings that we want to backup, like to specify for backups. Okay, but if you notice, if you go down here, we already have one backup here, right? AWS EFS automatic backup plan. Okay, we'll click this one, and this is the backup plan that we created. We can click here. Okay, and we can see here. Okay, so this is the one that we created actually, automatic backup rule. Okay, this was created when we did this one, when we specified the automatic backup here, when we enabled the automatic backup here, okay, when we create the EFS. Okay, that's the idea, and that's all for today actually. Thank you for watching. See you on the next session.